Hello lovely people, and welcome back to another video. Sorry, I don't know if I'm getting glare on my glasses here. I don't think so, but I've just got a headache so I'm wearing them today. You may have seen by the title that I have had an incident with a very old, very special to me cactus, and I'm pretty sad about it. Basically, this cactus I think is about 40 years old. And was given to me by my cousin when her father passed away, so he's my great uncle. And it's not like the most precious one, so I'm really thankful for that, but it is still pretty special to me. And it has rotted at the base, and I don't know how this has happened because it was fine. I mean completely fine, like the base was corked. Where it's really old and it starts to grow kind of woody. And I've been checking the water and everything like that. Seems like it was fine. And just this week, since kind of we've taken a turn into the colder weather, I don't know what's happened, but it seems to have rotted at the base, which I'm really gutted about because it lasted such a long time in a north facing flat and with no issues whatsoever, and now that I've moved it into a south facing window, suddenly it has rot. It makes no sense. Anyway, this isn't about me lamenting the cactus. I am going to try and save it, so I thought this is the perfect opportunity to show you how, if you have stem rot on your cactus or root rot, so the bottom has kind of gone mushy, I will show you in a minute what it looks like, then you can try this method. I have tried it in the past, hasn't really worked for me, but I'm going to attempt it this time. I think on the previous ones, the cacti were just too far gone and they were quite like really tiny, whereas this one is big. So I hope, fingers crossed, that we will get through. I mean, I know the strategy and like the process to propagate the top half of a cactus. It's really all down to your conditions and whether or not the rot has kind of got through to the other part of the cactus. So yeah, we'll just do our best, basically. So the weapons that I have today, first of all, and this is something that I think is a really handy tip that I don't ever see anyone use. For me, I always find, I mean, it depends on the cactus, but in order to handle it, I find that gloves make no difference. Newspaper, you still get prickled through, cardboard, whatever. I actually find a packet of crisps, if you just use a large bag of crisps and wash it out, and obviously spit it out so it lays flat, and then you just kind of fold it up so you've got a couple of layers in between you and the cactus, and you can use that to kind of hold the cactus in there, and it actually is quite difficult for those spikes to get through. Although I haven't done this on a cactus this big before, so I'm a little bit nervous because he's got very big spikes. The other strategy I might use if this crisp packet thing doesn't work is to cut open this empty bottle and use that to kind of be able to grip the cactus through, because hopefully the spikes won't be strong enough to get through the plastic. So that's how we're going to hold on to the cactus. What you're actually going to do is cut off the rot off the bottom. So I have a knife and it's nice and sharp, I hope. I will double check. And I've also got some isopropyl alcohol just to wipe the knife in so that it's not bringing any bacteria into the hopefully still alive tissue of the cactus. So I'm going to wipe that down with this first. And what we're going to do is we're going to slice directly down the stem, like perpendicular to the stem of the cactus, so a bit like a cucumber, and just slice it at a point where the tissue seems healthy. Sometimes it will be more rotten inside than it looks on the outside, so sometimes you have to go a lot higher up than you think you would. Yeah, I'm hoping it's not too high up, but we'll see. And yeah, so you slice it, and then what you want to do is you want to kind of cut, I'll show you when I do it, but you want to cut the edges. I can't think how to describe this, but you want to make it so it's got some sort of horizontal cut, so it's not a totally flat surface. You want some kind of almost a bit like a tapered end, so you don't want everything to be flush to the new compost, soil, whatever substrate, whatever you're using. You don't want it to be flush to that. You want to have a little bit of clearance so that you've got air, space to callus, and so it kind of minimizes the amount of the cactus that will be in contact with a moist surface. And finally, I've got a paintbrush and some cinnamon, because I don't have any yellow sulphur, which is what is commonly used for rescuing cacti. But cinnamon is a pretty good antibacterial, and you just basically want to minimize the risk of any bacteria getting onto your freshly cut cactus wound. Then once that is cut, assuming there is still some healthy tissue in there, I'm going to just let it dry out and callus over for a few days before I attempt rooting it in another medium, in another substrate, because it's really, really important that you let your cactus wound heal over and callus so it's dry, so you're not putting really, really moist tissue onto the substrate that you're using, because all of the moisture will get sucked into that and it will just rot. It will just plain old rot. So yeah, wish me luck. Oh, I don't know, I'm upset. I'm not sure if it's being conveyed, but I'm upset about this cactus. So yeah, wish me luck. This hasn't worked for me in the past, but I'm remaining hopeful about this time, because this is a much bigger cactus and I don't know, just hoping, because what else is there to do? Yeah, so I will just kind of spin it around. So this is what remains of the cactus. I'm so sad about this. So you can see here at the base, it's got some really like corked kind of woody material here. This isn't, you know, fresh, healthy cactus. It's not new growth. This is where it's kind of grown into more of a tree-like structure to support the weight of the cactus. The substrate in here, I just use my normal cactus potting mix, which is, I will publish this at some stage, but it's a mixture of compost, horticultural sand and perlite. So it's very, very well draining, very, very light and loose. And also I had obviously a lot of stones and marbles and stuff to try and ensure that the base of the cactus didn't come into contact with any moisture, but it still rotted. And that is just how badly it rotted, that when I picked up the pot, the whole cactus toppled off, which is pretty sad. So, right, I'm just going to bring you around here so you can see. This is the patient. So you can see here what I mean by the woody stem. So this is, a lot of this is corked, and what can I use as a pointing device? So this here is corked, so it's very, very firm, and well, it should be very firm, but obviously this has started to rot, so it's no longer. And as you can see, that paintbrush just goes right through, completely rotten. And a little bit further up here, this is how I realised that it was rotten, was this little patch of mould. And often, sadly, this will be the first sign of your cactus kind of deteriorating, is when you see a patch of mould like that. And unfortunately, that is often kind of the point of no return. It's very difficult to actually bring a cactus back from that point, even when you propagate it. So I don't know. We will see what we can do. The top still looks, you know, relatively healthy. It's kind of squishy, and I think that's because the base has been rotten for a long time. I don't know. I'm really, really nervous. I don't know if this is rot or it's mealybugs. I don't know. This could be a disaster, guys, but we're gonna cut into it and see if there's any healthy tissue left. I am super hopeful, but yeah, we'll see. We'll try our best. Right, guys, I hope you can see this well enough. I'm a bit not au fait with my angles. Right, let's see. Okay, yeah, I'm fairly well protected, that's good. So I have just sterilised the knife and probably put it back down in soil, but that should be fine because it's all come from this cactus. So I'm just gonna choose a bit. Oh, it feels bad. Oh, okay. There is, okay, right. Right, I want to show you this here. So, I'm going to go back to this paintbrush thing here. So, this is obviously quite dehydrated because these should be nice and fat and healthy. This is really sad. I think this might be beyond help. This isn't looking great here, especially because we've got 3 little kind of rot points here. I'm gonna keep cutting. I'm gonna cut a bit further up and see if I can find anything that isn't rotten, basically, and go from there. With each cut, I'm going to re-sterilize the knife because obviously I've just cut through some rot here and there's probably a lot of bacteria going on. Oh, this is really sad. This might end up being a fail, you guys. Okay. Right, I'll be right back. I'm going to get some more tissue to re-sterilize my knife. Still some rot there. This is really, really not looking too positive, sadly. But we're going to keep going. We'll see what happens. I'm really sorry if anyone doesn't like sharp things. I will probably put a trigger warning at the beginning of this. Sorry. But yeah, so yeah, not looking great. Okay guys, we are finally looking good, all right? So I hope you can see in here there is no rot, no signs of anything bad. That is actually really positive, so fingers crossed. I am super, super hopeful about this because I'd be so sad to lose this whole thing. So what we want to do now, and this might prove tricky, this is hard to hold. Ah! Right, ow, that hurt. Okay, this might prove tricky because these are really, really squishy, but basically we want to cut these up at an angle. So they're just kind of slightly diagonal across here. So we're just reducing the surface area that the cactus will be in contact with soil and moisture, basically. So I am going to make a rough attempt at that. We'll see what happens, but I'm hoping that this is going to be okay. Fingers crossed. Do you know what? I'm not sure I can do this with a knife. I might have to do this with the scissors, which sounds a bit brutal, but I think that's just the way to go, unfortunately, at this stage. Right, so I have sterilised this again so I can poke on points with it. Basically, I hope you can see what I've done here. I've kind of just made this surface a bit more kind of rounded towards the base. So what we really want this little bit to be in contact with the soil slash substrate slash whatever, and then this we want to be barely touching, if at all. So we just kind of reduce that surface area that will be in contact with the soil. And now what I'm going to do is just dust this all off with cinnamon powder, and then I'm going to leave it to callus over and dry out. So this is just going to be a very light dusting. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is I am going to put this in a very dry area, probably in our boiler cupboard, and so that it's not full of moisture, and just try to get this to callus over over the space of a couple of days. And fingers crossed, I know this is not like the most ideal place to be seeing this cactus, but we have, fingers crossed, at least got a little bit of it left. So I'm really keeping my fingers crossed about this one. Wish me luck. So clearly I need all the help that Mother Earth can give with hopefully bringing this cactus back to life. I really hope so, because it's quite a special cactus to me. So yeah, wish me all the luck in the world. If you do want to know more about cactus care and how to look after them and how to rescue them and all sorts of things, I strongly recommend going to check out Desert Plants of Avalon. She is a wizard with cacti in the way that I can only ever hope to be. So she's fantastic. Definitely go and check her out. Lynn, her name is, and she's lovely as well. Really kind and really sweet. So make sure you check her out. And yeah, as I said, just, I don't know, pray for this cactus. Hi guys, I'm back with a little update on the cactus situation. Sorry, I don't know if you can tell, I've got a really allergically itchy eye because I'm an idiot who has cats, even though I'm allergic to cats. So I just thought I'd update you. I have now left this cactus to callus over for a good like 7 days, I think. So you can see he's really dried out on the bottom here. I am not sure how well this is going to do, but we'll have to wing it. We'll see what happens. Because he's really dried out, and this happened, this has looked the same pretty much from day one of once I had cut him. I don't know if that's due to the age, whether it's the type of cactus, I'm not 100% sure. Ow! Ow. or maybe it's just not viable, I don't know. But you know, we're all here along for the ride. So I'm hoping that it will be viable, obviously. So what I have got with me is I've got a little pot. This is actually quite a big pot for this cactus. So I've only kind of half filled it so that he's not got loads and loads of substrate to try and root into, because the last thing I want is for the substrate to stay really moist around him. So I've got that. I've obviously got my cactus, and I've also got some rooting powder, which is actually a really essential thing for when you are trying to encourage a cactus cutting to root. It just kind of stimulates that growth that you really need at the end of the cactus. It's also used for grafting as well. But yeah, really helpful. So what I'm going to do is just dust this over the end, and then literally just put it down, kind of callus end down into the substrate, and I'm going to leave it probably, I want to kind of acclimate it back into sort of brightness, but there's not much brightness going on at the moment. So I think for now I'm going to put it on my desk next to where I work so that I can keep an eye on it and just keep checking on it. What you don't want to do is keep picking it up out of the substrate. You just want to keep an eye on it for any signs of further rot or anything like that, or just further signs of decline. So yeah, you just want to keep an eye on these things, and then if I feel like it is a successful cutting, then I'm probably going to stick it back in the south-facing window so that it can get as much sun as is available. So I am just going to switch you around so that you can see what I'm doing. but obviously there's not many steps, so yeah. Okay, so I just want to angle that so that you can see it. So all I'm going to do is get my rooting powder, and to be honest, because it's such a small surface area, I'm just going to stick some onto my fingers and just kind of try and tilt it on there and make sure there's loads and loads covering it. So I'm going to use the end of a paintbrush to kind of poke it in, make sure there's a nice covering all over here. Trying very hard not to get myself spiked. I did throw away the crisp packet after last time and I haven't had any crisps since, so that is why I don't now have crisp packets everywhere. Right, and just to kind of try and get it into those cracks there as well, just in case they do end up rooting, I'm just going to dust some in there with the paintbrush. You guys, I really hope that this one does well after all this effort, but you never know. We'll find out. I think, if I remember correctly, it's very unlikely for anything to root from these side bits because the roots come out of the central stem, but I am not 100% sure, and I desperately want this cactus to flourish. So I'm going to throw everything I can at it. So yeah, I already have a lot of prickles from this one because I didn't think ahead and bring anything that can stop me being spiked. So that's a bummer. Right, I don't want to like go too crazy or anything. I just want enough that, you know, there's enough rooting powder available to him. Okay, I think that's probably good enough. And right, so that is closed. Where I chuck rooting powder everywhere. Okay, and then all I am going to do is, here is my little pot. So all I'm going to do is kind of just make a little hollow, nothing much. I really don't want to kind of bury him in the substrate because obviously the more buried your cactus is, then the more likely it is that it will rot more. So yeah, just a tiny little hollow there, so no more than probably like 1.5 centimeters, and I'm just going to drop them in. Oh my gosh, I'm getting so spiked here. This was a really, really not smart idea. Okay, so that is in there. He's not in there kind of really solidly or anything like that, but he's just kind of sitting in that hollow well enough, hopefully, that he will be able to pick up some form of root. There's just a little bit of the mesh that I've got at the bottom to stop the substrate falling out. But hopefully, I'm going to keep that next to my keyboard so I can keep a real eye on him and make sure he's not kind of shriveling or going brown or showing any signs of further rot or decline. But yeah, that is hopefully it. So yeah. Okay guys, so here is my little finished product. Obviously this is a lot sadder than the original very large cactus that I have. I actually looked at a picture of him when I first got him the other day, and it's now kind of painfully obvious that he's been in decline for a little while because he hasn't been as big and fat and juicy as he was actually for quite a long time. So I feel like a little bit like a bad plant parent for not really noticing that, but sometimes it is hard because you don't really have anything to measure it against them. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that video. It's a difficult technique to show because there's nothing guaranteed about it. You just kind of have to do what you can and hope. And sadly, sometimes it doesn't work out. I mean, for all of my smaller cacti, it hasn't worked out, but I know that people have a lot of success with this method, particularly with the larger cacti, so we will see what happens. If I do start to see any kind of any kind of rot or further decline, I might have to consider trying grafting. I do have a Hylocereus that I could chop up and attempt to graft. but that's a whole different ball game I've never tried in my life. So I'm just going to really hope that this fella hangs on, but we'll see what happens. I'm just going to leave him in there. I'm not going to water the substrate at all because I really don't want anything to rot, and it's actually kind of better for them if they are on a dry substrate to promote root growth, so that they can find water, as it were. So yeah, that is all of it from me. I can't convey to you how much I really hope this works. So yeah, if anyone has any tips, please do let me know, because obviously I haven't had this technique work for myself in the past, so that would be great. I hope you enjoyed this video. I know it's been a bit of an all over the place, slightly emotional one, if you can't already tell. Again, this is allergies. It's not emotion, although it probably accurately conveys how I feel about this particular cactus. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I hope to see you in the next one.